طيب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. We're finishing up Kitab al-Janaiz, the chapter of funerals from Al-Lu'lu al-Marjan, and fast approaching upon Kitab al-Zakah. Walillahi alhamd. All praises for Allah, the Mighty and the Most High. طيب. Last night we were discussing the narrations regarding the command to stand upon seeing the funeral procession. What the ulama of Islam say from the Salaf and the Khalaf regarding what do you do when a funeral procession passes you by, what do you do when you reach the burial ground, etc., with regards to standing and sitting. A person may say, what's the wisdom behind this ruling? What's the wisdom behind it? One may say that perhaps the wisdom behind this is respect for death and respect for the free service that death provides you, and that is admonition and exhortation. It comes to you for free. You don't have to go and pay for it. You don't have to be included in a club. You see someone getting killed, you see someone losing their life, you hear of someone losing their life, the funeral procession passes you by, you pass by a graveyard. That's a free service that it's giving you, and that's to wake you up and to remind you that day is going to come in your life as well. Will you reach 100, 90, 80, 70? Allahu Alam. Will you die peacefully in your bed, in your sleep? Will you die in the hospice, a hospital, on the battlefield, in a car, a fireball of an explosion? Allah knows best. Poison, being ripped to pieces by a vicious animal, Allah knows best. Drowning. But the day for sure is going to come. That's certain. All right? That's a certainty. So perhaps, and Allah knows best, that's one of the wisdoms, is to respect death. Respect it. كَفَى بِالْمَوْتِ وَاعِظًا. The concept of death being a means of admonishing you. And we all know that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ is quoted to have said, أَكْثِرُوا مِنْ ذِكْرِ هَادِمِ اللَّذَّاتِ. You should always think about dream shatterer, the shatterer of pleasures, which is death. Keep it on your mind. And when you think about death in a proper light, it's going to do nothing but help you make you a better Muslim. It's going to cause you to be more generous with your wealth. Because, death is approaching and the money can't go with me in the grave. And the only thing that can go with me in the grave is the sadaqah that I spent, the zakat that I paid, the infaq that I put forth. That's it. But the actual money itself was not going to do anything. Thinking about death helps a Muslim be brave and courageous and stand up in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And oftentimes a Muslim, unfortunately, can become a coward because of love of the worldly life and fear of leaving things behind and fear of living out and enjoying things. But you realize the sweetness of this honey, the coolness of this water, the softness of this bed, of this silk, of this and that is going to go away. It's going to be taken away from me. And it was taken away from those who are better than me. And there were people who were greater than me, and it was taken from them, and death was given to them. So you need that reminder, all right? And it makes you, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, act in a more righteous manner, thinking about death, being realistic that this life is temporary. And of course, that's easier said than done. We all say that, right? The world is temporary, it's the dunya. We all say that. But our cars, our shoes, our homes, our meals, our conversations show otherwise. It's the reality. And of course, everyone living in this world, especially in 2019, is touched by the dunya on one level or another. One level or another, they're touched. But allowing the dunya to grab us and to give us a chokehold and strangle us and embrace it, that's a different story. So death is never ever going to do anything except for help the Muslim. But as I've just mentioned, the death and the thought of death which is done in a proper way. And some people who may think of death in an improper way, okay, in which they suffer from anxiety or sadness or grief or depression or they're just thinking that, oh, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die tomorrow. There's no point in me seeking ilm. There's no point in me getting married. There's no point in me doing this. That's wrong. I would understand this. So there's a balance. There is a balance. Khairan inshallah. And Allah surely knows best. We have here in the narration that says, Hadith 564, narrated by Jabir ibn Abdullah. The Hadith, the narration says, "Innaha janazatu Yahudiyin." It says this is the funeral procession of a Jew. This goes to show us is that it was established to the Sahaba the concept that there are certain rights and certain manners, and there's an etiquette with regards to Muslim and non-Muslim, Muslim and non-Muslim. And the sheer fact that a person not being a Muslim, it shows that there are certain rights that they don't have in the Sharia, that they do not share with the Muslims. Not them being wicked, they drink alcohol, he's a womanizer. The sheer fact that he does not profess Islam, that by itself disqualifies him from certain ahkam and huquq that is only specific to a Muslim. Now we live in a time in which people, they'll say, well, a Jew is Ahlul Kitab, people of the scripture, or they may say, use the term Abrahamic faiths. They all claim Ibrahim, they believe in monotheism, extreme monotheism, so on and so on and so forth. So they're going to paradise too, just like the Muslims. And you can't make any distinction, or you can't make any differentiation between it. The Hadith clearly states. And the Prophet ﷺ, he never disregarded the fact that the person was a Jew, but he said something else. His answer was different, which goes back to what I just explained to you about death, with no prejudice of who died. Everyone understand this? And Allah knows best. So in the Sharia al-Islamiyah, we have the Muslim and the different types of Muslims, a pious Muslim versus a Muslim who isn't pious. And we have those who aren't Muslim, Ahlul Kitab and the Majus, Zoroastrians. They have rulings along with Ahlul Kitab as well, certain times. Versus a Mushrik, someone who just worships, has spirituality other than that which was sent down. Everyone understand this? So they're different rulings, and you cannot make them the same and equal in Islam. That's wrong. That's hideous, and many people, they try to do it today. And of course, we know the reason why is because of the dunya, and because the Muslims are living in the lands of the non-Muslims. They're having children and grandchildren. They're buying businesses and properties. They've abandoned the Muslim countries, and they're pleased and happy with these lands. And of course, there's a certain political vibe that you have to have, and that's going to have an effect on the interpretation of the text, as we've explained in many classes before, unfortunately. So the hadith, it says here, that it says, "Innaha janazatu Yehudi." It's a janaza, it's a funeral procession of a Jew. And the hadith, it says, "Idha ra'aytumul janazata faqumu." When you see the janazah, then stand up. Jew or Muslim. Hadith 565, it says here, it's narrated by Sahl ibn Hunayf. It says, "مرت به جنازة فقام فقيل له إنها جنازة يهودي فقال أليست نفسا." They said it's a funeral of a Jew. He says, is it not a human being? And this goes to show us that there are certain things in the Sharia which everyone is equal in, and people being humans. Everyone understand this? So I feel that this is very appropriate with regards to 2019 and the concept of the LGBTQ culture and scourge and brainwashing, and them stuffing the agenda down your throat. Every bus, every video, every cartoon, every movie, every piece of candy, they're throwing the rainbow down your throat. You must accept it. It's normal, it's natural, so on and so on, and you're going to accept it, whether you like it or not. Okay? And the different responses that we get from Muslims, or those who may say they're Muslims, Allah knows best who's truly a Muslim. Allahu Alam. Just because a person takes an interview on CNN or BBC or YouTube and says that he's an imam and he's a Muslim doesn't mean he's actually a Muslim. Alright? Allah knows best. So for a Muslim to get on the television or the media outlet and to profess him being a homosexual, to profess it, and to have no shyness, no fear, no bashfulness to profess it. I sleep with another man. Alright? That's one level. And then the level of those who say it's wrong to sleep with another man as a Muslim, versus those who say it's okay to sleep with another man as a Muslim. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no Quranic injunction against it. A man loving another man and a woman loving another woman. That's level number 2. That's the silver medal. Then we have the bronze medal. Those who don't go as hardcore, they don't promote themselves as being homosexuals. They're heterosexuals. And they also believe and they state that it's impermissible in the orthodox legal system of Islam. A man cannot be with another man. A woman cannot be with another woman. And their banana peel that they fall upon is that they say, well, if you're harsh against homosexuality and lesbianism, then you also have to be harsh against having a boyfriend and a girlfriend. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا. Don't go in there zina. Zina is fahisha, it's sabila, it's an evil way, it's an evil path. The Prophet ﷺ says, لَا يَزْنِ الْمُؤْمِنِ هِنَ يَزْنِ وَهُوَ لَا يَزْنِ الزَّانِي هِنَ يَزْنِ وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ. When he makes zina, iman is taken from him. And there's so many texts against zina. So the hatred that you show against LGBTQ, you must also show the hatred to a man who has a girlfriend. And there's a girl who has a boyfriend. They're not married. This is zina. And many people, they may shake their heads and bobble their heads. Oh, right, that makes sense. But there's a subtle trick. And it's a slippery slope as well. And that's because they're trying to make it equal to other things. And they're trying to diffuse and take away the pressure and the bluntness of the impact of it. Okay? Because someone who's claiming to be a scholar, someone who has a PhD, someone who studied in a prestigious Islamic university and a prestigious secular Western university, this person cannot present themselves as a total idiot. Partial, unfortunately, they may sometimes, but not a total idiot. You're a doctor, you're a scholar, you have to present yourself in a certain way. And you can't just come out and say and go against the clear orthodox text of Islam. You're going to look like a fool. But you can, wave and wiggle around it and trim it down. And unfortunately, I feel that's what some people do. There's no doubt that zina is hated by Allah. There's no question about that. Zina is hated by Allah. Zina is haram. And the Muslim is supposed to hate evil no matter what type of evil it is. No difference on that. Man ra'a minkum munkaran. Whoever sees evil from among you, we know what he should do firstly. And if he can't do that, secondly, last but not least, فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِقَلْبِهِ. He has to hate it in his heart. There's no question about that. The scholars of Islam mentioned from the wisdoms of Hijrah is not to see, they say, ru'yatul munkar, seeing the evil all of the time. There's no doubt about that. But why are you trying to say that a man having a girlfriend or a girlfriend having a boyfriend is equal and similar to the same sex being with each other? Islamically, can you say that? And even from just a logical or rational standpoint, among the people, the non-Muslims themselves, do they say that? This grandmother or this father, her son brings home a beautiful young girl. She's 18, he's 19. She's happy. Oh, she's such a sweet girl. You guys can go out and you'll date. You'll get married. You'll raise a family. I'll have beautiful children, grandchildren one day. Versus Jimmy or John or Michael bringing home Tim. Some families would accept it. Some families are liberal. Some families, but in most cases, or oftentimes, the grandmother's going to be what? There's no doubt about that. And if there was no other reason why she would be mad and upset and infuriated, is because there ain't no grandchildren coming home with Tim and Johnny or Jimmy. They can adopt children, but it's not the same. This child that they adopt is not going to have the grandmother's eyes. It's not going to have the grandfather's big toe. It's not going to have the family blood and the family lineage. It's not the same. So this is a realistic thing now. If there was no other reason for the grandmother to be upset of Jimmy and Tim being together, they can't provide her with what? Grandchildren. And every grandmother wants grandchildren. That's a qaida. That's a rule. You're not being married. You're upsetting your grandmother as you speak. 25, 27, what are you waiting for? I need what? Grandchildren. Because you're grown. You don't visit me like you used to. You used to be in the kitchen with me all day. Let's make an apple pie together. You were young. You were on my hip. You were on my back. Your father's grown. Your mother's grown. But you gave me youth again. You made me happy again. The headaches that your parents took me through, you didn't put me through. Grandparents, they want grandchildren. That's a universal rule. They love grandchildren. They love to teach them, to take them out. And oftentimes the child has a better relationship with the what? With the grandparent. So the same-sex marriage, Forget this ruling, this concept, society, they won't accept it. The sheer fact that they cannot provide the grandmother with a what? Grandchild. And we know anyone who's read anything about history, one of the greatest struggles is to provide a suitable heir. Everyone understand this? This is one of the most important duties of the queen and of the princess, or the mistress, the concubine. She has to provide an heir, a son to the child, to the king. And it can't be a foreigner. It has to be the what? The bloodline of the king. So how can you provide an heir? So the concept of you saying that same-sex relationship is of the same level of intensity as zina when it's heterosexual, I don't think that's rational. From a worldly what? A worldly standpoint. Everyone understand this? A what? A worldly standpoint. It's not the same. So a person trying to say that you have to hate zina as well, that's true. But I feel that it's a means of what? Lessening the pressure and being more politically correct and being more accepted. And of course, we have the last level, or the level that's not included in the silver, the bronze, and the gold, in which this is haram and that's haram. This is a fahisha and that's what? A fahisha. This is a specific punishment in Islam, and so is that, but they are not the same. It's not the same. A brother comes to the masjid, new shahada. From the things that hold him back from being a Muslim is my girlfriend. I love my girlfriend. The foolish imam is going to say, you have to get rid of your girlfriend first, make tawbah, then we'll come and talk to you about Islam. We'll do what? Talk to you about it. If you want to take a shot. Are you sure you want to take a shot? You sure? You sure, akhi? Are you sure, brother? Do you realize what you're doing? That's the foolish imam. And a wise imam is going to say, you want to become a Muslim? All right, repeat after me. Then after you become a Muslim, you learn about this. You learn about that. You want to change your name or not? You have a girlfriend? Don't worry about that right now. I know Muslims that have what? Girlfriends. You just need to save yourself from kufr right now. You need to accept Allah as your Lord and your deity of worship, along without any partner, and Muhammad as your messenger. Everything else will what? We'll work on. And then bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, the beautiful thing about it, you become a Muslim, she sees the change in you, she sees how kind the Muslims are, she'll what? Want to become a Muslim, and you guys can get married. But can you say that if Jimmy comes to the masjid with Tom in the car? There's no future for you, unless you do what? Water it down and tone it down. Oh, don't say nothing about him because what? Abdul Fulan has a, not Abdul Fulan, Abdul Rahman, it's like he has a what? A girlfriend. No matter how he comes to the masjid with a thobe and a kufi, right? And pins on. Not Abdul Fulan. I mean, that's an improper statement, huh? If it's the servant of Allah, Azza wa Jalla, his name's Abdul Jalil, Abdul Raqib, etc. Everybody clear this or not? That's what I meant to say. So with that being said, them both being hated in the sight of Allah, of course. No doubt about that. But to make them equal, and to say, if you're going to say something about this, then you have to what? Wage war and make a witch hunt and crusade against that. I feel that that's a what? A trick. There's a flight square. You're trying to get out a check of the kuffar that come to your masjid, come to your center. What is your position on LGBTQ? We need to know. And if you say, oh, that's one thing. And if you say, la, it's what? Another thing. So we have to be careful of this, all right? So the point that I'm trying to get to is, one of the reasons why Muslims, whether they be clerics or scholars or whoever they are, they slip is because they don't differentiate between these issues. The man was a Jew or the woman was a Jew. And the Prophet ﷺ says, Alaysat nafsan. Is it not a human being? Meaning, if you have a homosexual coworker or neighbor or boss or someone in line, or you're paying a toll for your car, whatever, you can't just do whatever you want to them just because they're homosexuals. And you can't force and impose your will on them because they're still what? They're human beings. And they live in the United States. It's not no Sharia law here in New York City. It's the law of New York. You can't just go do what you want being a vigilante as a Muslim. It doesn't work like that. Everyone understand this? Your sexual orientation is what? Business doesn't what? As a wise man once said. As long as your business doesn't what? Interfere with my business. Lakum dinukum waliya din. In this situation, you understand this? If you ask me for directions, if a person is inquiring about Islam, and the person is a homosexual, this is what Islam is. Can a Muslim be gay? Can I take my shahada being gay? You teach them about Islam. But what they do and their preferences, you don't have to fight with them. let alone oppress them and wrong them based off of something that is against the law of the land, because there is no Sharia law in which we live. Everyone understand this? So there's a difference between justifying the act, being apologetic for it, saying that it's okay, or even just toning it down, as the last person does, versus you accepting the fact that they are what? Human beings. And the religion and the preference, and this issue has nothing to do with it. Everyone understand this? I can't just go take a baseball bat and hit a gay person upside his head coming out of a gay bar, because he's a what? He's a human being. And you can't violate another human being in Islam. It just doesn't work like that. There are rules. You can't just do what you want to do. Everyone understand the point I'm trying to get to? And the hadith, it clearly says, Alaysat nafsan. It says, what? Is it not a what? Is it not a nafs? Tayyib. Moving forward. Tayyib. Let's go to the last chapter, chapter number 27. It says, باب أين يقوم الإمام من الميت للصلاة عليه. حديث سمرة بن جندب رضي الله عنه قال صليت وراء النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم على امرأة ماتت في نفاسها فقام عليها وسطها. It says here, where should the imam stand while leading the funeral prayer? Meaning, this is another ruling of the janaiz. The actual prayer that you make over the dead person, where do you stand? Do you stand at the head of the body, the feet, the pelvis, the legs, the torso, the abdomen, etc.? No? And this also establishes that the body should be placed in front of the imam. The body should be placed what? In front of the imam. That's understood from common sense. Tayyib. So this affirms two rulings of Salat al-Janaiz. يثبت حكمين من أحكام الجنائز. طيب. The narration is reported by Samura ibn Jundub radiallahu anhu. He says that one day I made salat with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam over a deceased Muslim woman. And this deceased Muslim woman, she died when she was bleeding from postnatal cycle, nifas. فَقَامَ عَلَيْهَا وَسَطَهَا. So he stood in the middle of her. He stood in the middle of her. Meaning that he went against the asal of where he would normally stand in front of a man. And that there is a difference with regards to the head and the what? The middle. Why is this? Allah surely knows best. But it's a difference with regards to standing over the middle or the head of the deceased Muslim. Khairan, inshallah. Allah knows best. That's in brief. Alhamdulillah, we've successfully finished Kitab al-Janaiz. We're moving forward to the 12th book, which is the book of Zakah. And that will start, inshallah ta'ala, perhaps next week. And Allah knows best. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.